Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1959 Porsche 356A 1600 Super. Now this was produced between 1948 and 1965, with this A version between 1955 and 1959, with just over 21,000 of these made, and just over 76,000 total for all 356s. So yeah, we've already had the 356A Speedster on this game and the previous Forza Motorsport game. So yeah, this is technically just a hardtop version of that car, but with a few crucial differences. Firstly, I think this looks slightly better, especially at the front, and with that hardtop roof on it. It actually has the side profile of a 911. Obviously it's changed slightly over the years, but it's still got that infamous side profile. And yeah, it's also more practical than the Speedster, purely because, well, you don't have to wrench the front seats forward to get to the rear compartment, because yeah, neither has an actual boot, because obviously the engine is in the rear, and in the front, well, you've got a spare tyre and the petrol tank. So yeah, there's only really interior space in terms of luggage compartment in this car, but unlike the 356 Speedster, like I said, you don't have to pull the seats forward just to get to the back, so it has that going for it. And then there's the fact that it's actually slightly more powerful than the Speedster. It has 75 horsepower and 86 pounds-feet of torque from a 1.6 litre flat 4 engine. So that's 15 extra horsepower over the Speedster and 5 extra pounds-feet of torque over that car as well. Now granted, this car does way more than that Speedster due to the hardtop and those new bumpers on the front and rear, and it weighs, so as a result it weighs 255 pounds more. So yeah, that horsepower only really makes a difference the faster we go. Makes no difference in terms of 0 to 60 time over this or over the Speedster, but yeah, I actually really rather like this car. It's a lot like the MGB GT really, in terms of, you know, being a hardtop version of a convertible, and yeah, I actually think this looks better than the convertible as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I really do like the convertible as a car, and I do actually quite like the look of it, but this just has something else to it that doesn't really, and I don't mean just a hardtop roof either. And yeah, it's about time we've actually had a hardtop roof Porsche from the 50s, because we've never had one before on a Forza game, so there is that going for it as well. And yeah, this has a lot in common with British sports cars of the time really. It's rear wheel drive, it's quite lightweight at 1,931 pounds, doesn't have all that much horsepower, but it has good looks, decent amount of practicality, and yeah, it's quite fun to drive. To see how fun though, we're going to take it out there and see what it can do, so let's get out there. So as much as I respect the newer Porsches that are around, particularly the 90s and post 2000s, I can respect them for the technology, what they can do, etc. like that, but I'm more of a classic Porsche fan myself, as you will have seen in that Forza Motorsport 7 video I did of my top 10 favourite cars on that game. A 1973 911 was in that top 10, and yeah, this is one of my new favourite older Porsches, quite frankly. I think it's fun to drive, it looks good, and yeah, it handles fairly decently as well. Now like I said, this isn't faster than the Speedster in terms of 0 to 60 time because of the extra weight, as this can only do 0 to 60 in 14.14 seconds, whereas the Speedster will do it in 13.239 seconds, so it's nearly a second quicker than this. But outside of that, it's far quicker, this car. 0 to 60 time, 65.167 seconds, so yeah, granted that is more than a minute, but it's still not that bad for a 50s car with less than 100 horsepower, and it's certainly far better than the Speedster, which can only do 0 to 100 in 90 seconds, so it's nearly 25 seconds slower than this car, and that can only do 101 mile an hour, whereas this can do 106, so yeah, not quite as sprightly in terms of the 0 to 60 time, but more than makes up for it 0 to 100 time, which is vastly better, and also a slightly higher top speed. So yeah, being less than a second slower than the Speedster really isn't much of a worry really. And then there's the fact that this car just has slightly more, I don't know, something about it, handling wise. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better, but for whatever reason it does feel a little bit more fun, a little bit more playful, even though it does obviously weigh more. Maybe it's the fact it has extra power or just extra speed in general, I don't know, but yeah, it's just a little bit more playful than the Speedster. And yeah, on top of that, obviously it's a bit more practical, better looking, and yeah, just a generally kind of innovative car for Porsche, really. Sold a hell of a lot for them, obviously, with 76,000 of them made, and yeah, was eventually succeeded by the 911, which would carry on this shape of car with the rear wheel drive and rear engine layout as well. And yeah, I would be pretty doubtful that we'd have the 911 in the form that we have it, or at all, if it wasn't for this car, quite frankly, because this could have flopped massively for them, and yeah, you might well not have seen a 911 come after it. So yeah, pretty important car for Porsche, and a pretty important European sports car as well. And yeah, really glad it's on the game. It's not a Porsche I have known about. Obviously I knew about the Speedster, but I never looked into whether or not there was a hardtop version, and yeah, I'm glad I finally found out that there is one, and especially since now that we have it on this game. So yeah, it's part of the car pass, sorry, obviously. It's one of the two that have been released this week. You'll see another review of the other one after this one. But yeah, really enjoy it, and glad it's on the game. Hope it's on the next Forza Motorsport game, quite frankly. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.